You're very welcome back. It turns out cash is no longer king in Ireland. For the first time in our history, more of us are spending our money via debit card than with banknotes.
But are we about to be charged for the privilege? Personal finance expert Karl Deeter joins us. But before we speak to Karl, here's a report from TV3 News' Jerome Hughes on the real costs of debit cards.
Critica Ashok, who runs the costumeshop.ie and Molly's Pet Boutique in Dunleary, South Dublin, says she cannot afford to endure any more costs associated with operating her businesses. The main banks are scrapping laser cards in favour of debit cards. At present, businesses are charged 15 cent on laser transactions, but they are charged 1.55% or fixed fees of 55 cent on debit cards.
Even if you take large ticket items, say 500 euros, all of a sudden you're paying 7.55 euros, €7.55 instead of 15 cent. That's a 5,100% increase. There's concern that the charges will be passed on to customers, but the National Consumer Agency says it's not commenting on the matter just yet. On the upside, debit cards only allow you to spend what's in your account, unlike credit cards, and they can be used to make any purchase online or abroad, unlike laser cards. The business community, though, isn't happy. Some businesses might be persuaded not to have the machines at all.
Absolutely. A lot of retailers are trying to cut their costs, and they may see these electronic transactions now as costing them too much because they won't be able to pass on the cost to consumers who are very price conscious and they're in a very competitive market.
For her part, Critica says getting rid of her machine just isn't an option, as most of her customers use cards to pay.
Now, Karl, I see that my laser card is going to run out at the end of September. So what will my options be?
Well, basically, these Visa debit cards are set to be rolled out from around the end of this year. They don't actually have an official start date. Some of the nice things, though, let's focus about what's good.
Okay.
Contactless payments. With lots of them, you'll be able to go into a shop, and once you're buying something below €15, you just put your card up against it, the transaction is done. Another thing that people haven't looked at, and this is where being a personal finance geek is good, is say if you have a credit card, you're paying an annual fee on that just to own the card. There's a stamp fee on it of €40. There's not going to be on this. So you have the ability to have credit card-like ability to spend, but without that card tariff that comes with it. Another thing is, if you used an overdraft instead of having a credit card, if you use an overdraft as your credit facility, you'll get that at around 13%. Most credit cards are closer to 18%. I think this is a good thing.
It's kind of confusing, though, isn't it? Because they say that you're charged, what, 15 cent with your laser card per transaction? And then with this, it could go up to anything, like up to 5,000% more. That seems outrageous.
In some cases, obviously, the way that fees are structured is outrageous, but I would remember that for most people, your relationship is with your bank, and the actual Visa relationship is between the Visa originator and the retailer. Banks don't make that relationship with the retailer. So that's really something to do between people who are selling things and Visa as a company, rather than you with the bank itself. Because again, if you were to go out and get a regular Visa card, you'd be paying €40 a year in the duty, and then you would have a higher interest rate. With a Visa debit card, it's less than a tenner to own that card a year. So it is actually saving the customer. From a customer perspective, it's a good thing.
Okay, but the worry is, as we saw there in the package, that if the retailer is now seeing a 5,000% increase, they're going to have to recoup that some way, and that could lead to higher prices, Karl.
It could, but I would always, I suppose, fall back on an economic argument that it is an open marketplace and people are competing. If people suddenly start to jack up prices, you can go elsewhere to buy the same thing for someone who has a more efficient operation, operating at a lower cost. I don't think that, I'll put it this way, I don't think the main concern here should be that people are going to pass on costs. I think the advantages far outweigh any risk, because you'll have faster payments. Generally, for a company, you're not going to be holding as much cash if people are paying with cards. That reduces your risk in terms of security, in terms of crime, in terms of cash going missing. There's all sorts of advantages to businesses.
Well, the stats that we got told us that there could be a saving of $1 billion to the economy if people use debit cards instead of cash. Because, for that same reason, because of security.
Not only shrinkage, which is the kind of official name for when people steal things. Think about this. The black economy cannot exist with debit cards. So the more that people use these, the less that is sinking out, the better chance we have of everyone, without doing anything special, of pitching in to make sure that we have the tax money to run our schools, to run our hospitals. By and large, moving towards debit cards is a trend that has been coming for some time, and in fact now we're using them more than cash.
Well, I love the idea of them because you're using what you have in your account and you're not, you know, you're not going into any debt. But I found with the laser card, say if you wanted to book a hotel, if you wanted to book flights, then you can't do it. But with this, you'll be able to do that.
Exactly. So you want to go on holidays, you don't have to phone a friend and say, can I use your card, or ask a relative, or go on a trip into the place where you're buying this thing from.
Could they not just have updated the laser card and just left it as a laser card and allowed you to do that without charging more?
Well, Ashley, without meaning to, you've just asked a really complicated finance question. because this boils down to what is called a payment system, the actual infrastructure that everything rests on. Laser operates on an entirely different infrastructure than Visa, which is a worldwide payment system. Okay. So, again, like I said, it's you've asked a really big question inadvertently, and the Visa one is effective.
I meant it.
I know you did. Visa also has 28-bit encryption as a standard. Laser, I don't even know what the standard is with them. Right. It's very hard to get hacked. It's effective. It works everywhere that you go. There's no country where Visa is not accepted.
But we see there from that report that the retailers aren't happy.
I guess, if you want to make omelets, you got to crack eggs. The thing is, this isn't about retailers. It's about giving the consumer choice. It's about the consumer having options and giving the consumer value. And I think that when a consumer gets that, they'll make their own decisions. And it's up to retailers to up their game and be in a position to utilise it.
Well, a lot of permanent TSB customers are already in Ireland in possession of these cards. AIB and Bank of Ireland, they say they're going to phase out the laser cards too, and then introduce us with debit cards. Should we be talking to our banks to try and arrange a better deal for us?
I don't know, because it's not a case that there's a particular deal on the table. The option is, when you renew your card, this is what you're going to get. You can't stay with laser. Now, from that point, again, this is not a credit card, it's a debit card. So it's not like there's a financing fee in there. This just gives you the ability to spend the money that's in your bank account anyway, but to do it via a Visa system instead of a laser one.
And Karl, give us an idea of what's going on with the credit card market. We see what's happening with MBNA up in Leitrim. Is it still a viable business?
What happened with MBNA is it's basically collateral damage on what is happening with Bank of America. There's a thing called Basel III. It's just to make it simple, it's all this regulatory thing that says how much money you have to hold if you're a bank. Bank of America in the USA doesn't have enough. And when you're running a credit card business, you have to hold even more because credit cards are seen as risky. When you lend on a credit card, so when you buy something, really they're lending to you, there's no collateral there. It's unsecured, so you have to hold more capital. For that reason, they're spinning off their credit card business in every country that they operate in. That's the UK. Unfortunately, it hits Ireland via MBNA, and they just sold all of their credit card business in Canada to TD Bank. So that's something that's happening internationally. Bank of America are also selling all their real estate assets. All of their Merrill Lynch properties just got sold to Blackstone for $1 billion. This is about a worldwide issue that is happening with Bank of America, and unfortunately, for about 750 people in this country, they're going to be taken down potentially because of that. But it's not because business is not good in credit cards. It's not because credit cards aren't profitable. It's a Bank of America issue that's affecting people here.
Okay. Do you use your credit card?
I don't have a credit card. I use the laser card. I really just try and stay within my limits. And then I have an overdraft. That's what I leave it at.
Yeah, I've got a credit card and I try not to use it as much as possible. And again, I would only use it if I'm buying something outside Ireland that needs to be shipped into Ireland. With this debit card, I'll be able to do that now and be able to cut up the credit card. Do you have a credit card?
I do. I use a Tesco credit card because I do my food shopping in Tesco. And so the way that I manage it is a lot of the bills, car insurance and the like, I pay for it with that in advance. I put the money aside in my bank account anyway, and then I just pay it. I avoid any cost, and in return, every couple of months I do my shopping for almost nothing.
Wow.
He's a smart
because every
cookie.
euro you spend, you get
Yeah.
a penny.
That's why he's a financial expert.
Down there for dancing. Now,
Good to see you again, Carl.
if you have a question for Karl, then today until 12:30 you can ask him any question you like on our Twitter clinic.
Just tweet your question, making sure to include hashtag TV3MS, and Karl will only be answering questions until 12:30 today because he's got to go to Tesco's to get his free week shopping. So get tweeting.
Now, we have been discussing what way we spend after the break. We're going to be showing you how to spend it. August is the best time for cooking and barbecue bargains. We grill our savvy shopper after the break.